And welcome to another episode of Hazardous Verbal Waste. I am your host, Shira Chan. Today is Sunday, May 12th, 2019. This is Season 2, Episode 6 of Hazardous Verbal Waste. Got a lot of really cool stuff to go over this week, as well as the announcement that I will be doing a bonus episode as a review of The Avengers Infinity War. So stay tuned and make sure to listen to that review as well. Let's get right down to it, shall we? In Yu-Gi-Oh! News, Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of the Duelist Link Evolution summons a physical version for the West. Konami announced that Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of the Duelist Link Evolution, the updated Switch version of Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of the Duelist, will come in both physical and digital versions in the West. The game released last month in Japan, but it was also made available as a digital title, so it looks like we'll be getting the extra hookup of a physical version here in the West, and for those of you who play the card game, that means there's a good chance it'll include some kind of bonus card or multiple cards as we've seen in previous games. Konami will share more information later this month as the story progresses. Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of the Duelist Link Evolution releases for Nintendo Switch in North America and Europe in summer of 2019. The game is currently available in Japan, and as more information on this story develops, I'll make sure to bring it to you guys. That's pretty much all we have for Yu-Gi-Oh! News this week. On to the next segment. In gaming news, PlayStation 5 will make loading screens a thing of the past. Last month, Sony Interactive Entertainment began to pull back the curtain on the PlayStation 5 by detailing some of its hardware and a few of its features, such as backwards compatibility support with the PS4. At the time of the reveal, one of the things Sony drove home is the system's impressive loading times, which are made possible by its solid-state drive. According to Sony, the PS5 will boast loading times up to 19 times faster than the PS4. Meanwhile, in a PS5 test demo, Sony demonstrated that the loading times in Marvel's Spider-Man have been cut down from 15 seconds to 0.8 seconds. That all said, games built natively for the PS5 will obviously take longer to load, at least the more ambitious ones that take full advantage of the system's new power, which means taxing it more, which will most likely equate to longer loading times. Still, the PS5's solid-state drive is at the heart of Sony's vision and plans for next gen, and according to a new statement from an official PlayStation rep, loading times could be cut out entirely with the console. An ultra-high-speed solid-state drive is the key to our next generation, said a statement given to PlayStation Magazine. Our vision is to make loading screens a thing of the past, enabling creators to build new and unique gameplay experiences. Of course, the PlayStation 5 solid-state drive doesn't just mean the system will load games faster via lightning-fast loading screens. It will also improve games with less pop-in and the ability to load more assets quicker, which should improve environments, especially environments with high density of moving parts and assets. Also in gaming news, Microsoft Solitaire inducted into World Video Game Hall of Fame. When selecting new entries for the World Video Game Hall of Fame, judges consider a number of criteria. Is the game widely known and remembered? Has its popularity endured over the years? And did it influence not only other video games, but society in general? Microsoft Solitaire, bundled with the Windows operating system since 1990, might seem like a modest example of video gaming culture, but it easily meets the above benchmarks. And so, as of this month, it is now an official member of the World Video Game Hall of Fame, joining classic titles like Doom, Tetris, World of Warcraft, and Halo Combat Evolved. The World Video Game Hall of Fame is a relatively new institution, created in 2015 and overseen by educational institute The Strong. Its official home is in the National Museum of Play in Rochester, New York, and each year it selects a handful of new inductees. Solitaire may be a video game for the ages, but its inclusion in Windows had a higher purpose. The developers of the operating system felt that the familiar game was the perfect way to introduce users to relatively new computing concepts, like using a mouse and drag and drop. By playing Solitaire, users honed more than their card skills, a win-win for all. Solitaire was first bundled with Windows 3.0 and appeared in every subsequent version of the software up until Windows 8.1. It was removed from the base-level operating system, but was returned in Windows 10 after Microsoft admitted that Solitaire, along with Minesweeper and Hearts, still have devoted followings. Because of its inclusion in the world's most popular PC operating system, lowly Solitaire has likely been installed on more than 1 billion devices, says the Strong Museum, making it one of the most popular video games of all time. Microsoft Solitaire demonstrated that there existed a vast market for games that appeal to people of all types, paving the way for the growth of the casual game market, said the Institute in a press statement. In a blog post, Microsoft's Paul Jensen, studio manager for Microsoft Casual Games, said the induction of Microsoft Solitaire was historic. We are humbly honored to have the opportunity to work on a game that has such broad appeal, is localized into 65 languages, and played in over 200 markets around the world, including Antarctica, said Jensen. That's pretty much all we have for gaming news this week. On to the next segment. In Xbox news, Microsoft patents Xbox Braille controller for visually impaired gamers. A few months ago, Microsoft launched the Xbox Adaptive Controller for disabled gamers. The device has impacted the lives of many already, but it seems like Microsoft wants to take accessible gaming even further. Today, Let's Go Digital spotted a patent which incorporates a Braille panel into an Xbox Elite wireless controller. The Braille panel in the back seems to constantly adjust itself so that gamers who are blind or have other visual impairments can read the text through the back of the controller. That's not all though. The patent says that the controller will also be able to convert speech to Braille, allowing users to communicate in chat or when they're live streaming. The World Intellectual Property patent goes into great detail about other features as well. For example, there are 6 Xbox Elite controller-like paddles in the back, which can be used for a variety of functions. The Xbox Adaptive Controller was a welcome surprise, so there's hope that the Xbox Braille controller makes its way to consumers one day. We know a lot of gamers who have visual disabilities, and this would help them immensely. However, keep in mind that just because there's a patent, it doesn't mean that it'll be manufactured. The controller has to work and pass through a number of tests first. That's pretty much all we have for Xbox news this week. On to the next segment. Before we get to our next segment, a quick word from our sponsors. When I'm hungry and I want something to eat, but there's nothing prepared in the house, it sucks. But with Blue Apron, I don't have to worry about having to go to the grocery store, portioning out the ingredients. Everything is done for me. You simply choose your meals. Their chef-designed recipes include balanced Mediterranean meals, quick one-pan dinners, and top-rated customer favorites. They guarantee the freshness of all their ingredients and deliver them in an insulated box right to your door. Following the step-by-step instructions, you'll experience the magic of cooking recipes that their chefs create with your family's tastes in mind. I know it's super easy for me to do. I can't cook worth a darn, but with their instructions and all the ingredients perfectly portioned out, I'm a chef. So if you want to try out Blue Apron for yourself, go to blue-apron.evyy.net/HVW podcast and you can save $60 over your first 3 boxes. Sign up now at blue-apron.evyy.net/HVW podcast. Again, that's blue-apron.evyy.net/HVW podcast and start cooking. In tech news, this modular PC aims to repurpose and lessen our electronic waste. New technologies being released every day promise a futuristic look that is years ahead of the current devices. But with the speed at which our technology evolves, the same devices begin to feel outdated and due for a refresh within a couple of years. The Level is a modular home PC concept that explores how users can be encouraged to retain their devices for a longer period of time, even after their primary use is over. The modular and highly adaptable home computer's flexibility centers around the building blocks that provide even the least experienced users to upgrade the aging hardware. The pyramid of blocks is neatly concealed within the aesthetically clean casing. It isn't just the extended life cycle of the product that has been considered, but also the user experience has been explored in great detail, from adjustable articulation of the screen through to the intuitive and fuss-free user interface. It's certainly a device we would love to see in our homes for years to come. And you can see these images of this computer at yankodesign.com. That's pretty much all we have for tech news this week. On to the next segment. In TV news, Netflix will adapt more Dark Horse comics into shows and movies. Netflix might become home to a lot more Dark Horse comics show and movie adaptations. The streaming service has forged a deal with its production arm, Dark Horse Entertainment, giving it first look at all the comics company's titles for TV and movie projects. Some of the more popular Dark Horse properties include Hellboy, The Mask, and Frank Miller's Sin City. All three had previously been adapted for the big screen, with the Hellboy reboot being the most recent. But it's not outside the realm of possibility for Netflix to create its own version of the stories. Netflix and Dark Horse worked together in the past to create Mads Mikkelsen-starred Polar and weird superhero series The Umbrella Academy. Based on the company's quarterly earnings report, the superhero show did tremendously well, having been viewed by 45 million households by the time the figure came out in mid-April. The partners are already exploring potential projects, but for now, The Umbrella Academy's second season is the only confirmed one. Cindy Holland, VP of Original Content for Netflix, said the partnership will allow the company to adapt comic book titles beyond superhero stories, including darker and grittier tales. That's pretty much all we have for TV news this week. On to the next segment. In movie news, theaters reportedly adding something after the Avengers Endgame credits. Fans of the Marvel Cinematic Universe were understandably confused when Avengers Endgame arrived in theaters with no post-credit scene attached. Those credit stingers have become a staple for the MCU over the past 11 years. But the Endgame writers and directors opted to truly close out the Infinity Saga with an ending and no sequence teasing what's to come. When the credits are over, they're over, and there's nothing else. Well, that's going to change a little bit starting this weekend, as some theaters are adding a trailer to the end of the Avengers credits. As we know by now, the newly released trailer for Spider-Man Far From Home contains major spoilers from Avengers Endgame. It all starts with the sacrifice made by Tony Stark, and there's plenty of discussion of the effects of Thanos' actions. That puts theaters in a tough spot because they're supposed to put the Far From Home trailer in front of big movies. But it's a little annoying to spoil a movie in a trailer that airs before the movie actually starts. So, to prevent this action, but still get people watching the Far From Home trailer, Sony is asking theaters to do something unique and add the trailer after the Endgame credits. A theater employee posted to Reddit this week to explain that their office received an email from Sony requesting that they play the Far From Home trailer at the end of the Endgame credits. The studio even included a short clip of Tom Holland telling fans to stay tuned for the trailer after the movie, which runs in the middle of the commercials that play before the film. It's a strange marketing idea, but it actually plays to the Marvel audience quite well. No one likes spoilers, but this is a crowd that's already used to waiting around through the credits to see something new. This checks all the boxes while still getting people watching the Far From Home trailer. That's pretty much all we have for movie news this week. I do want to let you know that I will be recording a spoilerific review of Avengers Endgame later today. Hopefully that will get posted either today or tomorrow. For now, let's go on to the promos. Well, here we are, coming to the end of yet another episode of Hazardous Verbal Waste. But before we get to the final thoughts, how about we hear from a couple other shows that you might be interested in?
Looking into the darkness, you can feel your heart racing, the heaviness of sorrow and dread take control, and the voice inside you says, "Don't go in there." Now join your host, Ashley Ernie, and Bill Reed, as we venture down the weird and mysterious.
Find the Don't Go In There podcast on your favorite podcast listening app, and remember, don't go in there.
Well, that's all for this week. I hope you're as excited as I am to learn that Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of the Duelist Link Evolution is going to have a physical copy. Hopefully there'll be some decent promo cards with it. And the fact that Sony has decided to put the Spider-Man Far From Home trailer at the end of Endgame instead of at the beginning so as to not spoil anything. That's cool news. I do want to let you know that I will be doing a spoilerific review of Endgame later on today, if not tomorrow. And that should be available soon as a bonus episode. If you would like to contact the show with any thoughts or concerns or comments, there are several ways you can do that. You can visit the contact page at hazardousverbal.com and fill out the contact form there. You can email us at hazardousverbal@gmail.com. You can also leave a voicemail message through Skype. The Skype ID is Ichimoto1. That's pretty much all we have for this week. I'm Shiro-chan, signing off. Peace.